CSS exam stands for Central Superior Service Exam. CSS exam is conducted by Federal Public Service Commission, FPSC, Islamabad for the recruitment of candidates to posts, BS17, in the following services under the federal government: Commerce and Trade Services, Customs and Excise Services, District Management Group, Foreign Service of Pakistan, Income Tax Group, Information Group, Military Lands and Cantonments Groups, Office Management Group, Pakistan Audit and Accounts Service, Police Service of Pakistan, Postal Services Group, Railways, Commercial and Transportation Group. Parts of CSS exam. CSS exam consists of the following 4 parts: written examination, medical test, psychological test, Viva voce. Eligibility criteria. Asterisk applicant must fulfill the following eligibility criteria for appearing in CSS exam. Nationality criteria. Asterisk. The applicant must be a citizen of Pakistan or a permanent resident of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Educational criteria. Asterisk. The applicant must have a bachelor degree with at least second division from a University of Pakistan or equivalent qualification from a foreign university recognized by HEC. A candidate having third division in his or her bachelor degree can only apply for the exam if he or she has secured higher division in the master degree. Age criteria. Asterisk. The age limit for candidate applying for CSS exam is 21 to 30 years. The age limit is relaxed by 2 years, making 32 years as maximum age, for a candidate currently serving as a government employee or belonging to recognized tribes and areas. The criteria for age relaxation are given at the end of the page. Places of CSS exam: Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Peshawar, Abbottabad, Bahawalpur, D.I. Khan, Dera Ghazi Khan, Faisalabad, Gilgit, Gujranwala, Hyderabad, Khuzdar, Larkana, Multan, Muzaffarabad, Okara, Quetta, Rawalpindi, Sagoda, Sialkot, Skardu and Sukkur. Places of interview: Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Peshawar and Quetta. Dates of CSS exam. The important dates for CSS exam 2021 are as follows: Fill Square application submission period, asterisk October 3 to November 2020. Fill Square exam date, the 18th of February 2021. Fill Square date for determining eligibility, AG qualification and age, the 31st of December 2020. Fill Square exam fee, 2,200, 5th hours. How to apply for CSS exam. The advertisement of CSS exam, reflecting dates, is published in all newspapers in September each year. Deposit the exam fee in the nearest GOFT. Treasury, State Bank of Pakistan, National Bank of Pakistan under the account head, CO2101 Organs of State Exam Fee, FPSC receipt. Fill in the online application form on the official website of FPSC and take a printout, hard copy, of the same online form. Dispatch the hard copy of the online form along with copies of your documents and bank receipt to the FPSC headquarters, Islamabad. Basic things to know about CSS exam. A candidate cannot appear in CSS exam more than 3 times. The age of the applicant for CSS exam calculated on the 31st of December of the year of applying. This means for applying for CSS 2021, your age on the 31st of December 2020 must not be more than 30 years or less than 21 years. Candidate has to appear in the 4 parts of CSS exam, i.e. written, medical, psychological test and Viva voce. Written exam has 6 compulsory paper and 6 optional papers, to be selected from the list. The minimum mark for qualifying compulsory paper is 40% and for optional paper is 33%. The candidate qualifying the written test will be shortlisted for further parts: medical, psychological test and Viva voce. Candidate can apply for rechecking of his or her paper. Rechecking fee is 500 rupees per paper. Age relaxation criteria. Asterisk. The age limit for CSS exam is 21 to 30 years. The age limit is relaxed by 2 years, i.e. 32 years, for the following candidates. A candidate currently serving as a government employee and has remained in the same service for at least 2 years. This age relaxation will be accorded to the candidate on the provision of the Departmental Permission Certificate. Employees from banks, WAPDA, regulatory authorities and autonomous bodies are not entitled to age relaxation. Candidates belonging to scheduled castes and Buddhist community subject to provision of issued by DCO, political agent, district magistrate. Candidates belonging to recognized tribes who are permanent residents of the areas, Baluchistan, tribal areas of DI Khan and Peshawar divisions, including former frontier states of Dir, Swat, Chitral and Amb, former excluded, Baluch, area forming part of the Dera Ghazi Khan and Rajanpur districts, former tribal areas of Mardan and Hazara divisions, Upper Taniwal area of Hazara division. The student will have to provide a certificate issued by DCO, political agent, district magistrate. Candidates belonging to Azad Kashmir territory subject to provision of certificate issued by Kashmir Affairs Division, Gilgit-Baltistan including Gilgit, Diamir, Baltistan, Gezer and Ghanche, subject to the provision of certificate issued by DCO, political agent, district magistrate. Candidates who are disabled, namely, physically impaired, hearing, speech impaired, deaf and dumb, and visually impaired, blind, subject to submission of a certificate of disability issued by the competent authority designated for the purpose by the federal, provincial government. How to apply for CSS exam? CSS exam is held in February or March every year. Advertisement of CSS exam is published in newspapers in September each year. For instance, the advertisement of CSS exam 2019 was published in all newspapers in September 2016, which mentioned the following: application submission period, the 1st of October, the 31st of October 2019, exam date, the 16th of February 2019, exam fee, 2,200 rupees. Follow the following steps for applying for CSS exam. 1. Deposit the exam fee in the nearest GOFT. Treasury, State Bank of Pakistan, National Bank of Pakistan under the account head, CO 2102 Organs of State Exam Fee, FPSC receipt. 2. Fill in the online application form on the official website of FPSC. Take a printout, hard copy, of the same online form. 3. Dispatch the hard copy of the online form along with copies of your documents and bank receipt to the FPSC headquarters, Islamabad. 4. Your complete application must reach FPSC headquarters, Islamabad within 10 days of the closing date. Online apply is compulsory for CSS exam. Asterisk, remember the following points for applying online. 1. The online application requires personal details, CNIC number, bank details, names of optional subjects, educational details, experience details and posts preferences of the applicant. 2. The applicant has to provide all this information carefully and correctly. 3. After filling the application, click on the button, Submit, given at the end. 4. When you submit your application, you will receive a confirmation email of your application. The same email has also a tracking ID of your application. 5. You can take a printout of your submitted application by clicking on Take Printout, with the help of your CNIC number and tracking ID of your application. 6. If after submitting your online application, you realize that you have made some mistake in giving the information in the online application, you must correct it on the hard copy of your application and put your signature with it. The printout, hard copy, along with the following documents must be dispatched, by post or by hand, to the FPSC headquarters, Islamabad. 1. Copies of educational documents, i.e. certificates and degrees. 2. Photographs. 3. Other required documents. 4. Bank receipt of deposited exam fee. 5. Experience certificate, if applicable. 6. Other documents as required in the advertisement. 7. If an applicant has applied for relaxation of the age limit by 2 years, he or she should submit the relevant certificate, duly filled in by the concerned authorities. All such certificates are available on the official website of FPSC. CSS exam, how to select optional subjects. CSS exam has 6 compulsory papers and 6 optional papers. The selection of correct subjects plays a vital role in getting high score in the CSS exam. Sometimes it becomes difficult for students to choose optional subject because they either do not know the rules for the selection of optional paper or they do not which subjects are good for getting high marks. This article will guide you about the rules of the selection of subjects as well as help you in selecting the right subjects to get high marks in CSS exam. Understanding the rules for selection of optional subjects. Asterisk 1. CSS exam has 12 papers including 6 compulsory and 6 optional papers. Each paper carries 100 marks. CSS exam has 1200 marks in total. 2. Optional subjects for 600 marks are to be selected from the list given by FPSC. 3. There are groups of subjects given in the list. From each group, one subject can be selected. The subject carrying 100 marks has one paper. The subject carrying 200 marks has two papers. 4. The list of optional paper is given on this website. Tips for selection of optional subjects for getting high marks. All the optional subjects are good. The selection of these subjects depends on your choice. However, getting good marks totally depends on how well you prepare that subject for the exam. Here are some guidelines for selecting optional subject to give a rough idea to the candidates newly applying for CSS exam. 1. Study the syllabus of each subject thoroughly before selecting it. The syllabus will give you an idea of whether you can prepare the subject easily or not. 2. Select those subjects which you have already studied in your previous classes, i.e. in bachelor's or intermediate. As you have already studied those subjects in your previous classes, you will comparatively more command on them. It will be comparatively easier for you to prepare those subjects very well. 3. Select those subjects which interest you more. Selecting of your interest will make it easier for you to prepare them. Having an interest in area also indicates a more familiarity with an understanding of the subject. 4. If you have studied arts subject in your previous classes, it is better to prefer arts subject over science subjects for CSS exam. Arts subjects will easier for you to prepare. For instance, you have studied sociology as a subject in your previous classes. You may select anthropology or psychology as one of your optional subjects. On the other hand, science subjects involve basic knowledge which may not be easily grasped if you have not studied them as a subject. 5. If you have studied science subject in your previous classes and you believe that you are very good in them, you should select them as optional subject. 6. If you are good at your regional language such as Punjab, Sindhi, Pashto or Balochi, better select it as one of your optional subjects. These are generally viewed as good scoring subject due to our familiarity with them as our mother tongue. But if you do not have a good command on those subjects, regional language, particularly in writing, you should never select them. Because you should know how to read and write your regional language as well as understand its standard grammar and sophisticated vocabulary with regards to its utility. Your this decision should consider all of these underlying factors. 7. Better spend some time on choosing optional papers. Never select subject randomly or just by chance. If you want to qualify CSS exam with high marks, you should look at various aspects of each subject, i.e. syllabus, time to prepare, your interest, your command on it. Discuss it with your friends or teachers and make a wise decision regarding each subject. CSS exam syllabus. The syllabus for CSS exam was revised in 2015. The new syllabus is followed for the exams in the onward years. The syllabus for CSS exam reveals both the list of subjects as well as the course contents of each subject. It is a roadmap for preparation for CSS exam. A candidate appearing in CSS exam must study the syllabus thoroughly. It helps in the selection of subjects as well as in making preparation in a proper way. The names of all subjects including compulsory as well as optional is listed in the syllabus. The optional subjects are divided into groups of subjects. From each group of subjects, the candidate has to select one optional subject. Optional subjects, of 600 marks in total, are to be selected. A subject, carrying 100 marks, has one paper. A subject, carrying 200 marks, has two papers of 100 marks each. The list of all subjects for CSS exam is here. Dear students, please note that, 1. A subject carrying 100 marks has one paper. On the other hand, subject carrying 200 marks has two papers. 2. Question papers in Urdu or other regional languages, i.e. Punjabi, Pashto, Sindhi, or Balochi, Arabic and Persian must be answered in the respective languages. However, translation question, from respective language to English, in the same papers must be answered as directed in the question. 3. There will be 20 MCQs in all compulsory papers except the paper of essay. There will be 20 MCQs in all optional paper except paper of applied mathematics and pure mathematics. CSS exam, medical test, psychological test and Viva voce. The first part of CSS exam is the written part. The written exam is followed by a medical test, a psychological test, and a viva voce. The shortlisted students, after qualifying the written exam, are called for the aforementioned assessments. Each of them is explained as follows. Medical test. The shortlisted candidates have to undergo a medical test. The purpose of this medical test is to examine that the candidate is free from any physical anomalies which may interfere in candidate's delivery of services. The medical examination is conducted by medical board, constituted by FPSC, for this purpose. The candidate must have sound physical and mental health. If a candidate is found not to satisfy the medical requirements, he or she will not be appointed except the disabled person whose rules are separately prescribed by FPSC. The disabled candidates must have submitted certificates of their disability issued by a recognized authority. Disabled candidates, i.e. physically impaired, hearing or speech impaired, deaf and dumb, visually impaired, are allowed to compete in CSS exam for 4 groups of serves: Pakistan Audit and Account, Commerce and Trade, Postal Services, Information Services. A helper, i.e. writer, can be provided to disabled candidates if they mention it in their application form. Similarly to the visually impaired, blind, candidates, extra 15 minutes per hour will be allowed. In order to avoid disappointment in the medical test, candidates are suggested to have a proper medical examination by a government medical officer before applying for the CSS exam. Psychological test. The shortlisted candidates are called for a psychological test and viva voce. Both the psychological test and viva voce have combined 300 marks. The psychological test is designed to assess candidates' mental capabilities, attitudinal aspects, and personality traits with regards to their competency for the civil services. The psychological test consists of written tasks and group activities. In the written task, candidates are required to write their views regarding a topic, a question, a picture, or a scenario presented to them. Trained psychologists analyze each word and line written by the candidates. Hence, the candidates should be careful about writing down their views. Your statements should be clear, true, and straightforward. Group activities are also designed to assess the behavior of student in group. Candidates are asked to engage in some group activities to analyze their group performance and tendencies. Candidates should bring 3 passport-size photographs and their national identity card for the psychological and viva voce exam. If a candidate fails to appear in the psychological test, he or she will not be allowed to appear in the viva voce. Viva voce. The shortlisted candidates will have to appear in a viva voce. Viva voce carries 300 marks. Viva voce is an interview to assess candidates on the basis of their moral characteristics, readiness of mind, intelligence, leadership qualities, and extracurricular and co-curricular qualities and knowledge. A board of members is constituted to interview the candidates to judge their suitability for the services. The board of members has all the curricular and co-curricular record of the candidates in front of them at the time of interviewing the candidate. The candidates must have good communication skills. Good speaking skills aided by the power of creativity will help the candidate score well in viva voce. Co-curricular activities and areas of interest will be asked about. Candidate must have good knowledge about their areas of interest, i.e. hobbies and games. Co-curricular activities include candidate participation in debates, competition, or other such activities. The candidates must have sound knowledge about Islam and Pakistan, as more questions will be asked about it. Qualifying marks for viva voce is 100 marks. Candidates getting marks less than 100 will be disqualified for the services. Question regarding Islam will not be asked from non-Muslim candidates.